Okay, there we go. All right, I'm recording. All right, so just to answer some questions here. And all this is with Debian and Ubuntu, they have something called a pre-seed file, and you can set it up to where you put it in. It installs everything for you. You don't have to do any clicks. And in the advanced Linux class, we used to do that. You just don't have the time when we're coming. I know nothing about Linux to the end of 16 weeks, and you want to use the pre-seed file and set up an automatic install using the Linux terminal server. There's just not enough time in the semester to do that sort of thing. Unless that was the only class you were taking and you had a bunch of time to play with it. Yosemite.cc.ca.us, I think. I don't think it matters. VMware 12. Yeah, I've been installing Debian, the latest version of Debian bookworm on some of the older pieces of equipment, and it's working just fine. Here we go. Use entire disk and set up logical volume manager. Okay. Now I'm going to do that. I can also use manual, like what they went through, and they're showing you which partitions you can put stuff in and so on and so forth. But knowing LVM is more important, I think. And here you go. All files in one partition, recommended for new user. Yeah, you run out of space. What am I going to do? Well, I'll just reinstall. When you're first learning Linux, what do? You reinstall a lot. And eventually you get to the point you're going, maybe I should learn how to fix it so I don't have to reinstall all the time. Okay. So separate home partition, which means I now can have a drive for just my home directory and a drive for everything else. And here I can separate in production database servers. I always had multiple partitions set up like this for multiple hard drives, because sometimes you'd run out of log space and you needed to add a drive to the log mount point. Sometimes it was something else. Okay. And notice what it's doing. It's a little hard to see this, but it's showing you how it set them up. It says, this is my volume group, and this is the logical volume. I'll get into all this in more detail. Do they cover LVM and test out? I haven't seen it. Okay. Yeah, this is definitely production stuff. This is what you'd be using at, I know SaveMar runs a bunch of Red Hat boxes, and pretty safe bet they are on RAID, hot swappable LVM stuff. And you can do it, the old crappy boxes I have built-in hardware RAID. So you can actually put a drive in and spin it up while it's hot. So even though it's state of the art, 2005, it does work. What I'll do with the LVM is just give you some buzzwords for tonight, and then we'll talk about details as we move on. The buzzwords are pretty simple. PV, physical volume. Okay, that's what you expect it to be. It's a drive, and it's got a number on it. And how many drives do I have? And then we have something called a volume group, which can be a collection of physical volumes or not. So your one volume group could spread over 12 disks. So you can do that. And then the logical volume is the piece that you look at. That's the mount point. So if I was to draw a picture here, let's use some different colors. Just for fun. Let's say I have 4 drives. I'm going to create a volume group here and a volume group here. So I have a volume group that's smaller than a drive, but I also have a volume group that's bigger than 3 drives. LVM doesn't care. It lets you do this, okay? And then inside each one of these volume groups, I can have a logical volume here. This could be, I don't know, boot, if I can spell, /EFI, since it's fairly small. Nope, take that back. You cannot use a boot partition on LVM. So that has to be regular old disk, okay? So I could make this bar, and I could put home here, and I could put, I don't know, I could put my web server all by itself over on another logical volume inside the volume group. It's, think of set theory in your math. That's it. That's all this is. So you have physical volumes, the volume group, and then the logical volumes that you mount and interface with. Okay. So when you were creating the individual partitions, they were showing you, okay, let's put home here and put boot here. And do you need to do that? No, not for a home server, but production, you want to spend some time thinking about what is going to be on this thing. Okay. And we'll let that grind away. And then I'll come back to this. Now, I do want to mention one thing. I mentioned it earlier in the other classes that I keep forgetting to talk about it. This simple slash. It's been in every programming language that I've ever worked in. It works on the command line. What's it called?
Forward slash.
Forward slash, forward slash.
Yes.
Yep. How about the line continuation character? It's tricky. Watch what I do here. LS. Line continuation character. Minus LIAF. Did it work? Where'd the slash go? The line continuation character works the same way in all programming languages. And on the command line, at least for the Unix Mac world, is it just means you get a really long command line and you want to put it on the next line, use the line continuation character, hit enter, and keep on typing. But you notice there it is, but there it isn't. So the shell ignored it. This is what you have to remember, and it works this way in all the languages. LS, I put a space after the line continuation character. I get an error. Line continuation character, no space, nothing. Enter. And then you can type in whatever you want. This shows up in documentation all over the place, but nobody tells you what it is. You just assume you know it. Okay. So it's a line continuation character. It came up in the book today in assembler. I said, you know what? I better talk about this in the Linux class because we're going to be playing with some of this stuff today. Now, how do I want to show this? Let's go here. This is a domain name, jmkll.net, that is a duplicate of the .org on my shared hosting account in Fremont. And look down here at the bottom, this little globy thing. Can you see it? A little hard to see. But got all these little dots. What do those dots mean? That's people visiting jmkll.net. Now, I'm going to bet half of them are robots or bots or whatever. But look at all the folks from China visiting my lowly website. This is called Geo IP. Well, Geo IP is a service you can subscribe to. And let me mention a few things about this. How many are familiar with zip code +4? Okay. Your zip code 95, I don't know what it is here, 350, I don't know, 5150. On streets, your zip code is a town, right? The zip +4 is generally half a block of a collection of about 6 to 8 houses. So if you use somebody's street address, 435, and that number, it will get to you. But the mailman will hate you because he has to go look it up. There is an addition to this. There is a zip +4, and I can't remember what it is. It's a private company. But what they've done is that they've taken this information, and I believe it's another 2 or 3 digits. I can't remember exactly. We'll just say 3. Using a single number like this gets you to an exact house. Demographic data, GIS, where you are, what you search for, and all the things you're clicking on is going into a database somewhere, and they know where you are. Tor doesn't matter. They know where you are. Okay. Tor occludes some things, but it doesn't hide you. Okay. There is no such thing as absolute privacy on the internet. It just doesn't exist. Right? The other piece in this Geo IP thing, this actually came out of South Africa, and I think it's really cool. How many have heard of this? Okay. Who cares? It's showing you what 3 words Center for Advanced Technology. I am right about let's see, door. What about here? Those 3 words take you within a few meters of your precise location. Think about this for drone delivery in rural, anywhere, where there is no mail service, where there is nothing, but you have a satellite image and you've got what 3 words? You can fly a drone. And the guy that started this is that they're using it for emergency medical deliveries, and it's working. It's working great. And they've got an API. You can add this to your thing. It works. It's a lot of fun. But we in the West are more comfortable with Latin long. Familiar with that? That breaks down the Earth into coordinates. When you say the, if I go to Google Maps here, and let's find a place. Let's go to and let's just pick out. We'll say the same place. Okay. All right. Zero in, zero in, zero in. What if I want to go right there? Now, what do I have? See this information? This is the googly way to do Latin long. Okay. So it's a copy plus code they call it. And it tells you how they work. Okay. This is Latin long. This is the information you can get from a Geo IP address. So all I need is your IP address, and I can get a very close proximity of where you live. Is that a little spooky?
Most of the times it was like internet service providers is where the Geo IP was located to.
Yep. But there's a service that you can subscribe to. It's not cheap, it's kind of like tax codes. It's not for a business like Gallo and Foster's. It's part of doing business, but for a home user, it's way overkill. But you can do this, and what I used to do when we had more classes, I would have my Unix class parse all the IP addresses and do the Latin long lookup, and then give it to my JavaScript class, and they would take the Latin long and put it into maps, and it'd put the little pins all over the planet. It's pretty cool. Well, now there's stuff out there for a fee. You can upload your files, your Apache access log, and boom, it turns into this beautiful map for you. Okay, but we're going to do it old school way, and I'm going to show you how we can do that with the tools that are already on the Jeremy box. And then I will show you other tools we can use, but there's a limit to how much. If you want to look up 7,000 IP addresses, they let you look up 1,000 a month. So you can't do a ton of stuff. So they're making it more and more difficult for hobbyists to go have fun with this stuff. Okay. All right. So now you've gotten all kinds of information about Geo IP you didn't even know existed. And what 3 words is actually really fun when you're camping or someplace where there's not a lot of cell coverage, but you got a phone, you got a satellite. What 3 words works? All you need is a GPS signal, and that comes from a different satellite. You don't need cell to get your GPS. On some phones, that's true. So what I want to do is show you what is in this file. Notice here's an IP address. All right, everybody, go look at that IP address up. How do you do that? Do who is. Do a Google search on who is and put in that number and see what you come up with. I wonder if What 3 Words does this. I don't think they do. I bet you they'll say something like, for a fee. Yeah, nope, that's not going to work. Or the other one is Geo IP lookup. You can do that too. There's two of it. There's Geo IP lookup.net, MaxMind, IP geolocation. There's a bunch of them out there. You just bring one in. Let's do this IP location one. Put in the IP address. All right, let me bring it over here so you can see it. Very noisy. Yes, I don't like it when it does that. All right, IP address, United States, region, Michigan. Ann Arbor, ISP, census. Organization, not available. Latitude, longitude. Let's see if I can find that. And it shows you all these different IP information things. And I believe Census is the name of the company that handles the internet backbone for all the community colleges and the state colleges in California. Okay. You can have some fun with this. So you can look up your IP and look at somebody else's IP and find out where they are or aren't. I had one student say, I'm not going to make a class today. And at the time I was using some PHP stuff. And it's really easy to do that in PHP. Said, oh, yeah, I can see why. You're in San Diego. How'd you know? And then no, let me show you. This is not meant to freak you out. All right. So what do we want to do now that we've got this? What kind of information is in this access log? Well, the way this works, and this particular log file is at jmkll.net, which is in Fremont at Hurricane Electric. And Hurricane Electric is a huge backbone provider, and they provide internet to companies all across the place. And they also do shared hosting. They've been around forever and they're still private. My hunch is when the guy wants to retire, he's going to sell, have a gazillion dollars in the bank, and go cruise the 7 seas. It tells you when. It tells you what kind of browser. It tells you all kinds of information things. Now it says Expanse, a Palo Alto network switch. If you would like to be included from our scans, please send. So you can see who's snarfing at your website. Some companies tell you that, and you can also see what things are going, what kind of web browsers came here. Here's a Chrome, Mozilla, Gecko, iPhone, Apple WebKit. So you can run logs and find out what's the browser of choice on your website. Could be cell phone, could be Chrome. So there's a lot of information here. And this is just from you going to the website. Now, there are other sneaky things that they do, is that when you click on an ad, it can actually hijack what you're going to see next based on all kinds of magic you can do inside Chrome. And Google gives a lot of stuff away for free, huh? Well, that means you're the product. They are harvesting information from you so they can sell you more stuff. What was popular in the 50s? I have a market of 10 million customers. One market. Big tobacco. Okay. What happens today? I have a million gazillion markets of one. Very focused, very streamlined. Okay. And there was a time when Jeff Bezos was talking about predictive shipping based on what's in your wait list or your shopping list or your dream list. They would ship it to you. If you've ever done that, anybody done that? Put a few things in your wait list and wait a couple days or a week or so, and then go back to order it. It gets to your house way faster. Why is that? It's in your wait list. They think you're going to want it. So, or wish list, I guess. So they queue it up, and they will if you don't want it, well, then it just goes back into the queue. Try it. It's really pretty interesting. Okay. Do it on something obscure that requires some shipping, and then watch it show up. Okay. So what we're going to do tonight is play with this a little and see what we can do. Okay. And let me move this over here. I have to think about how to do that, because that would be really interesting. All right. So let's start with access log. It says ASCII with very long line. What about .1? Also ASCII. What about this one, that 11 GZ thing? Oh, it's compressed. So I have compressed data and uncompressed data. Well, how am I going to look through this? My goal is to pull all the IP addresses out, sort them, and then unique them and get the number of count. So how many times an IP address comes to visit. And then I'll take that IP address and go look up what's on the Linux box is a state, basically. Okay. And man minus K. This is an install on any Linux distribution. It's called Geo IP. Look up country by IP address, and it will look up state. Okay. I think if you pay for it.
Yeah.
It's all set up. And they make this easy for you to go create an account and get more accurate data. There's other companies out there that do this. And I was playing with this and I go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. They throttle you. Well, now they throttle you down to like 500 IPs. So you can hardly get anything at all unless you pay for it. But what we'll do tonight is just play with what we have on the system. Now, are there other things you can do? Yes. There are ways to use wget and curl to take the IP address, send it out to an agency, and return it with Latin long and their street address. Think about that for data mining. Hey, I see you visited our website and you were looking at, I don't know, water bottles. All of a sudden, you're going to get a coupon in the mail for free water bottles. Does that sound like effective? Yeah. Direct mail still works. It's still expensive. Keeps going up. Does direct email work? Well, not very well.
Oh, I actually have a case in point. I got an email from GameSpot. It has a list of different articles and things. And one of those happened to be that Best Buy was having a sale on Pokemon cards. The reason why that came up for me was because my son has gotten into Pokemon. And we've been looking up cards and stuff for Christmas. And sure enough, he did.
Yep.
There's that.
Yep. There's an eerie story I like to recount regarding this. Is the Target for a long time was like the leader in this kind of data gathering. And what happened was the dad and the mom and their daughter, and they started getting direct mailings from Target about birth control information. And our daughter is underage. So they make an appointment with the manager. And they basically light him on fire, basically. Come to discover, daughter was pregnant. And Target knew before mom and dad did. Is that eerie? Is that possible? Yes and yes. Okay. So yeah, this can be it can be pretty unnerving when you realize how much is being collected about you and how eerily accurate it is. Okay. There's people that will do this in like there are people that are on both sides of the fence, black hat and white hat, that will say, hey, you want to follow somebody, give us a couple of their phone numbers and where they work, and they'll have their daily itinerary figured out based on where their cell phone is pinged, the different antennas, where they've been driving in their car. This can be really eerie.
Google Maps does that.
Yes, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, you turn it on and say, let them follow me. Yeah, right. And will they ever turn it off? Probably not. But it's a side point. But let's see how this works. So let's do this Geo IP lookup. Okay, so here we go. So basically, Geo IP lookup, blah, 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 IP address. Okay. I wonder if I have, no, I don't have access to my cut buffer. All right, let's do that. Let's use that one that we were just looking at. That very first one. So if I say cat access log vertical bar head -1, that says give me one line, the very first one. There it is. So there's my line. And now I will do the Geo IP lookup. United States. Okay, so it is only country code, not state. Should have said Michigan, but that's beside the point. Now, how are we going to automate this? To make it where we can turn it into a web page. Or do we want to use just a straight text file? We can do all kinds of things. Okay. And in the past, I would take this information and load it into an SQL database, all via the command line and the SQLite database. If you aren't familiar with SQLite, you should be, because I can show you on, let's see, on Mozilla, I don't know how to find it. Let's do this. I do on Linux. It's this funny looking JSTV. Everybody has one of these. Oh, that's not it. Let's go to VB. There we go. Look at all those SQLite databases. Why? This is Firefox. Well, it's how you keep track of your bookmarks. Chrome does this. Safari does this. Edge does this. They all use SQLite as a local data store. There's a ton of stuff in there. So let's take one that's got an interesting name. And it's fairly large. Oh, places. Ooh. Let's see what's in there. This is why you want to learn SQLite. SQLite 3, and you put in places on SQLite. Now I'm on my machine on my desktop, okay, in my office. Learning how to use SQLite does not take you very long. There's a .help. And I will cover enough SQL in here so you know what it is, you know how to use it, and you won't sound like an idiot in an interview, okay? SQL is a language for putting data in and pulling it out of a database. That is fairly standard across all databases. The database engines, how you create a table, what you do with the table, and how you create a database or reorganize them, that's all different across databases. And SQLite is very small, very fast. It's called an embedded database. One writer at a time. Only one person, one process can write at a time. But it's a multiple reader. It's blistering fast, okay? So I'm going to use .tables. And it shows me, look at all those tables that are in my places SQLite. Okay. Bookmarks, history visited, keywords, origins, places. I want to look at Mo's places. That's a table. So what I do is I type in .schema and type in Mo's places. Integer, okay. Looks like it's a bunch of indexes. Oh, last visit. URL hash. Title. Interesting. So if I wanted to get a quick idea of what's in there, select star from Mo's places. And because it's an SQL statement, I need the semicolon. So that's the data that's in there. And yep, that's what I was doing. That doesn't work. I've been working on that today and it does not work. I don't care what they say. All right. Where is this? It's on my local machine. Is it on your local machine? Yes. There's a really cool Python tool called data set, and it's spelled funny, but it reads your local SQLite databases and graphs everything for you. So it will show where you were when you took your pictures from your iPhone and you loaded it up to your MacBook and Android or whatever. Okay. All right. So I want to look up this. Who wants to rekey everything? You want to type in all these IP addresses and look it up? Yeah, I don't either. So let's do this. I'm going to cat access.log. Well, where is the IP address?
The beginning line.
It's the beginning of the line. So let's do that. And let's say we can use either cut or awk. Cut works off a specific delimiter. Awk is whatever you kind of want to use. It handles slightly structured text much better than cut. So I'm going to use awk. Awk. And then check out the squirrely syntax. I just did this, so it's fresh in my mind. Look at there. There's all my IP addresses. Oh, but they're not in order, are they?
Before you go on, you show, there you go, I knew.
Type faster, cried the losers. Type faster, cried the losers. Or deal faster, cried the losers. Is that what they usually say? Anyway, I do go fast. Feel free to slow me down. Okay. So what this is doing is saying cat access.log, take the output of the cat and use it as input for awk. And awk is a programming language that's been around since the dawn of man. And it works great for what it works great for, but you quickly outgrow it if your data gets complex. It's great for this. So now I can do this and say, sort. So you can see I've got some duplicates in there, don't I? Okay. Well, there's another command I can use. It's called unique. UNIQ. So there is my sorted unique list of the IP addresses out of access.log. But let's do this. Let's put the C on there for count. So I've got 4 from this IP address, 5 from this one. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3.
any way to like quickly copy your command from the terminal?
Yeah.
Because I tried to do control C and control A, control C, but it didn't.
You just hit up arrow.
Like, then if I were to like try and copy it and paste it in the document.
Oh, there's a couple different ways to do that. If you're on a pure Linux box, this is why, okay, I'll just explain it on the pure Linux box. If you highlight and do nothing, it's in your immediate cut buffer that you can get to by middle mouse click. Okay. And on the Linux boxes in front of you, there is a little icon in the upper corner, and I think it's called Didon or Clip It or something, but it is a cut buffer manager. Windows almost brought one to Windows, but they gave up. It's too hard to train the users. I have a complete history of all my cuts in a cut buffer that I use, throughout the day. So if I need to go back to something that was, 5-6 hours old, I can go find it. Okay. So it's really easy to use a cut buffer to manage all your cut and pastes. Okay. So that's one way. And there's another way. Remember how we talked about functions? Whoops. I'm gonna put it. This goes back to ancient history. When we do this, this allows me, when I am in an X arena, to send something to vertical bar clipboard, and it's saved in my cut buffer. So let's do that. Where'd it go? And you wonder why I go so fast. You probably missed half of what I just did. So let me slow down. Well, that's fine. I don't want to open the file for writing anyway. So clipboard is part of my .funcs when I log in with my new bash cell. And what's in it? This is what makes it work. Okay. I actually ripped this off from somebody. I don't even remember who. Decades old now. So it's called clipboard is a function, and it uses the script to do that. Some app clipboard to some app, and it uses xclip. So you have to be on X Windows, and it uses this tool called xclip, and boom. And then this is how it works. So take it from one way and then take it the other way. I is for in and O is for out. Okay. And then if it's not installed, it says, remember to install xclip to tell you to make it work. Okay. I'll leave that up there for a second. This works fine. I believe xclip for the most part gets installed at least on distros that I've been working with. You may have to install it. I don't remember. But there's another tool in this camp called xselect or xsel. Does similar things. This one just works. So I can do this same thing from the command lines. So I can do that. Okay. So what's he doing here? It says, if command v xclip take standard error and run to dev null. Then if P is dev standard in, P means, is it a pipe? Then standard in is a pipe. Then do the following. Run xclip as in input. Take the data and shove it into xclip. If standard in is not a pipe, then take clipboard and send it to standard out. -O. Yeah, that's pretty obtuse. I get it. Not something you see every day, but it works. Okay. And so far, it works for very, very large chunks of data. Okay. So now, here we are. Unique minus C. For the sake of argument, let's not do that quite yet. But I want you to notice how it's sorted. Why is 3 after 23 and before 34?
Oh, 0. Or it needs to be like 0, 3.
Yeah, this is called normal. This is ASCII sort order, is how it works. And if you want to get that to work correctly, I think it's in. Yeah, /in is numeric order. Okay. Now, should we build a script with this? Yeah, I think so too. So let's turn this and create a temp file using this $. Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, hey. Should I do that? No, I should not. What does the tilde mean, folks? Home directory, right? So let's redirect this, create a new file in my home directory. I'm going to call it $. Dot lock. Why not? Where did it go? My home directory. And the $$ says, what is the process ID? And use that to make a file name called .log. Okay. So if I cat that 43 file, that's what I got. Okay. Now this won't work because I'm in the wrong directory. So I can do this. Now it'll work. This is going to be the main loop of our code, right? Why not? So let's walk through the process of how this is going to work. Okay. And I'm going to run it again and watch what happens. I will get another .log file. Or will I? It actually took the same one. Oh, well. Good enough. All right. So we know what's in there, right? Just a list of IPs. So let's create a batch file or a bash file called Geo look. In bash Geo look. And this is a convention I use. You feel free to use it or not. Whatever that was, .log. Close enough. Okay. On a blank piece of paper, using your programming language of choice, write a for loop for me. Just teasing. This is what we're going to do right now. The for loop in Bash is different. Do. And then we say echo $I, or excuse me, X, done. So there's no brackets, but that does use do done. Okay, so I don't know what other languages do, but Pascal or something like that. So what is this going to do? It's going to cat that 43 file with all the IP addresses and snarf it into that environment variable called LST, list. And then it's going to create a loop for X in list, do echo X. Okay. So I will put a comment in here and call it the IP is. That's all I need. Okay. So I now have an executable. But where am I? Is that in my search path? So I can type in bash. Click. Now I'm ready to push this off to another command. Right? Yeah, let's use that one. Good old friend China. So let's go back and edit this. And I can comment this out for the time being. You want to use your headers and footers now? Make a web page. Let's see what happens. Wow. Do you think I should print the IP address as well? Probably. So let's do this. And you say echo minus N. No carriage return. And when it comes to doing stuff like this, I am a fond believer of the vertical bar as a delimiter for your data. Never have I ever seen a vertical bar used as actual real data. Comma separated values. Comma is part of data all the time. And it can really be messy. Because you got a comma in a number. And then now you parse on the comma and you get two numbers in the field that should have been a name. Or what about mixed case names or names that are very long and gnarly with 45 syllables in them? Yeah, vertical bar is one of those things I use a lot. And SQLite, that's their default separator. Now let's see how this works. Almost. What's wrong? Yeah, I got the vertical bar in the wrong place. So I can do it a couple different ways. Let's put the caps lock is stuck. Echo minus, yeah, oh, come on. All right, let's try this again here. And I think I'll put a space, vertical bar. And that will put a space after. Yeah. So technically I don't need that space. So it's still getting a space at the end of it. That's just a function of the Geo IP lookup, I'm afraid.
You can put it after the vertical bar. And then it'll make
What?
You can put it after the vertical bar and it'll make it prettier.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, there's you can do it like for the time being this work.
it's fine.
Okay. All right. So this gives us a list by IP by country code. But there's a problem here. Which file am I using? Am I using all of those? No, I'm only using one of them. I've got some gzip files there. How do I do that? You can see people's brains are cunning. Should bring in some caffeine for everybody. If I type in zcat access log. Whoops. There we go. So I can use cat for access. Use cat for that one. And I use cat for .1. And for everything else, I need zcat. What do we do now? Now I'll build this up into one big monster. Rather than I normally split it up into smaller pieces. But what we'll do is we'll just make it one big piece. Okay. We'll call it logs. You can use upper or lowercase, but I'll use this anyway. Okay. So what I want is a list of log files that gives me a nice list. Let's see what kind of list that will create for us. Does this look better? Or do we want it R by time? I'm just going to use one, but gives it to me. Okay. So we know which ones are which, right? I'm gonna have to use a combination of zcat and cat. There's all kinds of ways to do testing.
If ends in dot gz, use z.
Yep.
And then
You can do a
else-
test that way.
else.
You are right. And that's kind of what I'll be doing
Okay.
is, and then we'll queue it into one big junk file, sort it, unique it, awk it, and look it up. And then one of the pieces of the puzzle is we kind of want to say that count how many times the IP address visited. So we'll do that, but we'll come back to that. Okay. So in our loop, there's a couple ways we can do this. And again, there's 10 right answers. You know, this.
Okay.
I want ls minus 1. So now what does that give me? It gives me all my log files, right? So let's see here. Let me exit and I think I've got a nice, easy way to do this. Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. That's not gonna work. This will work. This is definitely hacky, but it will work. See, do I want to do what we can do is this. And then you see what's happening here?
You see the z capper, the gz, and then just regular cap.
So it's just going to run zcat on anything with a gz, like a long line. And then I want to append this multiple times into an output file of some sort. So let's give it $, I don't know, raw one. And for these guys, we'll just comment this out for the time being. Yeah. You know, Bash does not have multi-line comments.
You can do for
Yeah, I kind of wish you could, but anyway. Let's see what happens. Now I'm running this in my home directory. Bash. Not looping it. It's gonna give me some noise here. This is the kind of stuff you can get away with in Bash. So I'm going to spin this through a loop. And I'll come back to this line. And you're going to see a lot of errors. Because every X is going to be tested against Zcat. Yeah, and every X is going to be tested against cat. So you can see a lot of errors. But let's see if I'm getting, see if it'll give me my data. Oops. -1 logs. Oh, what I forget? I forgot this. Execute and return the result. Now, why is it saying that? Let's think about this. Why am I getting this error? Let's look at the code. I'm pulling a list from home logs. And what's in that list? A name. What directory am I in? Home. Right? I'm in my home directory. Home DKP. Is that where the access logs live? No. What directory are they in? That one. Yeah. So right here, right before the loop, I had to simply say change directory.
Oh,
The home logs.
uh,
Everybody follow along with that?
change it first and then go.
And then it's going to do that and spit it all out. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Why am I getting that? This is what happens when you use cat on a compressed file. Oh, it's like, it doesn't like it. So we're trying to get this done. Lunchtime's coming. You know, we can do it a couple of ways. Let's see, how did I? Yeah, now we can do this. Now we're going to change the directory. We'll do this. So I'm not going to use a loop. Whoops. So I don't need this. Remember, I got a lunch date. The boss is waiting for me. And he wants me to get this done in a hurry so we can go to lunch. What's happening now? I changed directory. And now anything that has GZ gets Zcatted and the other two get out. And then it gets appended to the raw temp. Let's see if it works. So it's a 47 raw temp, which is that bottom one. So it's a 9. Yep, there we go. Let's see how many lines are in that. Word count minus L. 3,745. So let's play with that. So we want to do what? Awk. Yeah.
Solar.
There we go. Sort. Minus N for normal or numeric. And unique. So there's the unique. So how many unique IP addresses do I have? Boss, out of 3,000 some odd, we have 896 unique IP addresses that come to our website. That's a legitimate number. Because when you realize that 60% of your traffic is coming from the same 20 IP addresses, you use fail to ban and block them. They're not doing you any good. You're not collecting good data off them. It's just robots. Okay. So now I'm ready to do my Geo IP lookup sort of thing. Okay. All right. So let's take that information and put it in now. Being really lazy, I don't have to save it into a temp file here. I can just vertical bar it. That's looking good. And now I can actually put this into Geo log.txt.
Okay, you don't need to store it anywhere. You can just shove it straight into that.
Yeah. So what I want to do here is create a single file once for every time we run this thing. So it's going to create a new file. And then I get this geolog of what we're going to look at. Let's see how this works. Oops. Why did I get an error? Very simple. What directory am I putting the file into? The wrong one. I need to put it into my home directory, don't I? ~/ Ah, there we go. There they are. These are sorted and uniqued. So this list is ready to be punched into our Geo IP lookup. Okay. And on the command line, I can do it like this. Or, well,
You just do it inside of the.
mhm. There we go. But what am I missing?
Okay.
The IP address. Okay. We know it's all working. Now, this is what I can tell you. So it's creating a log file. And then I'm reading that log file. Okay. See how it behaves. Nice. There you go, folks. Made it in time for lunch.
I'm getting like, for the Geo IP lookup, I did the same exact thing as you, but on some of the IP addresses, it says, not found. Country edition IP address not found. But I'm getting like United States, Korea, Russian Federation.
Because you're probably working on hold on. Okay, just do a Geo IP lookup from the command line. And then put in one of those IP addresses, like the whichever one you want to see there. Okay. So it's there, and then you're getting address not found, where it says 1, 2, 4, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. What's going on here? At your log file, that whatever you call it, the geo._log. Yeah, whatever the log file is. Yeah. Oh, you put the -C in there. Under the unique.
You think that was it?
Yep.
Okay.
You know, the -C won't work because it changes how things get displayed. Because the C, that's useful information. But it just means we have to add one more step in parsing, because now we have the count and an IP. So we would have to use another awk right before we did this one. So let's do that. Since we have this time and we can look at it and make it So unique minus C, that's useful information. We kind of want to know it. But what's going to happen now, it's looking up the first thing, right? And we don't want that. So let's do it this way. Let's comment this out so we can take a look at our file. Because I want to get a good idea of how it's being parsed. And I'll do LR cat geo log text. Now you want to try cut? Let's see how cut works. Cut field 2 with G space. That didn't work. Why? Because what's before that? A tab? Or is it spaces? I don't want to figure it out. I'm gonna use awk. Why? Because awk does it this way. Well, there you go. Now I have the original file that Mr. Boss may want, because now I can do something else with this thing, and I can say sort minus n and do it that way. That looks slick. So I have 607 from 198, 189, 1493. That's us. That makes sense.
Don't flip it.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. That's here at MJC. But that looks like a file I'd like to save. Okay. Now, if I were to do this, what happens?
Right, you're erasing and writing it to the same time.
Almost. This is one of those snafus that you will be bit by. It destroys them both. It destroys them both. So whenever you're taking a file and you're going to the same file, I always add something to it and then rename it. Okay. And then
So it's a step. It's like a temp file. It's a temp.
bingo. Okay. All right. So this is actually the good one. So this is what we would say final on. Okay. So now when I cat that underscore final, I can put that in my public HTML directory as a TXT file and let Mr. Boss look at it. Although he would probably want to see who's on first, where are they all coming from? So he probably wants to see that first, because these are unique IP addresses. Can we put them back together? Yes. We can do cut and paste, and we can actually put all our data back in the same, so we can do that. Okay. But let's look at our, so we have our file that we want for final. Okay. Do we want to do a little more processing here? We can do it this way. what was it we just did? Right? Now it's going to give us everything with an extra space. Or an extra field, shall we say. Then this last one right here. What's that doing?
That gets rid of the sorted table.
That's getting me just my IP addresses. But I still have the final. So basically that geolog is going to be my new, that's going to be, it's got all my counts in it. Now I can do the G lookup and run this. And let's see what it looks like here. Looks good. And I want to remove geolog. Final.txt and remove these funny other ones. Make sure I don't have too much junk in there. Okay. There's my counts with IP. Getting late. The exercise to the reader. How would I put the counts in with the IP address?
X simulates echo. Something. Echo. Unique. Csci.
Yeah, something like that. So the file that has all our data is geolog. It has the count and the lookup. Okay. But we only want to do geo lookup on the IP part. Otherwise, we get not found because it's trying to look at geo IP lookup for the count. So how do we parse just the IP to go right here? So we've got the awk that gives us the 2, right?
You can awk and then print number 1.
Pardon?
Could you like awk and then print $1? Dude,
Did you? We're on the right wavelength here. Let's use awk in the loop, look it up, and then print the entire thing. That makes sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll work. Who knows? This is how you. This is why, you know, coding in so right. X is going to have both the count and the IP, right? So if we take X, put the vertical bar there. I wonder. Mhm. Well, let's see how this behaves first before I jump too far into it. So this is giving me both count and IP. That's giving me both count IP. Will this work? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's say echo 198.189.14.93 to I didn't think so. Okay. Let's see if this loop works correctly. Oh, come on. So what I'm going to do is test it to see if I get just my list of IP addresses from my counts and everything. Oops. I'm getting two. Let's double check. What'd I forget? The dollar sign. Oh, that went fast. That's not working either. So let's do this. No, that's not working either. Well, you have a problem to solve. Let's see if you can figure it out by next week. And I'll work on it too. I'm sure it's really simple, and I think what we may need to do here is I think in the awk line, I don't quoting variables, getting X to go into the awk line. I don't know if that's what we want to do or not. But that should work. Echo.
Try echoing out without the.
Hmm?
Try echoing out without the. What does it just print out? It should just print out the list.
Pardon?
Try printing or echoing out X without op.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to do next, just to see what I'm getting. I should be getting counts. Ah. See that?
It's separate line.
Interesting. Here's the question I have for you. Where is it screwing up? We know the file geolog is good, right? When we cat that file, that's good.
Yeah, it's fine, it's not.
Where does it get hosed? It gets hosed, oops. Right here. Because it takes in the entire line and it finds the field and automatically puts the next line. It separates by carriage return or space in this case. There is something in Bash called IFS, interfield separator. And the interfield separator, we can set and unset to avoid this problem.
Is this just a bash thing?
This is a bashy thing, very bashy. This is the dark art of Bash. Yeah. This is one way to solve it. Okay. The other way to look at this particular problem is, since we know that this file is good, how would we remove leading spaces and put in a vertical bar? It's called sed. So we can actually say, oh, I'm so rusty with sed. I'd have to look up the syntax. Sed is also one of those weird
SET or SED?
SED, as in streaming editor. You know what? Let's do this. Let's see what happens. Let's use awk to print $1, $2. What did I just do, folks?
What did you do, Steve?
Did you hear the rusty wheels grinding all the way across the room? Awk is pretty cool. Is it what I just did here is said, take the file that I have that's on disk, and when you say print $1, awk removes any spaces around that particular field. And it does the same thing for $2. But this is what else you can do with it. I think this still works. What did I just do? I put the counts afterward. So that could be pretty handy, because now I can go back to and put my awk line back in field 1. See where I'm going with this.
Yeah, and just get rid of.
And then it's going to look it up and then echoing it. They got to put that back out there somehow.
I was gonna say, how do you echo it?
Yeah, how do you echo it back? Field 1, field 2. Something to ponder. So the piece of the puzzle that I would like to add is this one. And then put that in here as a note to self.
Put this in bucket.
Yeah,
I know base geo lookup. Base geo lookup doesn't work right now.
pardon?
The geo lookup doesn't work anymore now because we have the sort and now.
Right, I have to figure out a way, but now, because it's fixed. I can use cut. Cut. On the delimiter. The vertical bar. Yield 1. And then I have to put that. Well, let's see see if this does what I think it does. Nope. Not quite. It is cutting it. Oh. Because I haven't done this part yet. Line continuation character. Insert.
Oh, we'll fall back.
You're experts on that one. And then I want this line. Now, inside here, I should get. It's getting a little messy. Starting to look good. Now, that gives me the actual. So I need to put this into Y. And then just for grins and giggles, let's put in echo. I don't know if this is gonna work.
But it's also there's.
Really close. It is fun.
It's very fun.
Oh, so close.
It broke when you shoved it into Y.
Mm-hmm. Almost. I'm off by one line. This is where you can really hose yourself. let's say you're dealing with payroll data and there's a slip. You've just given everybody in a company raise, you gave your boss a demotion and raise. You only make that mistake once. Yeah. So what's happening is that my very last line doesn't tell me United States. Because that's the highest count. So it's off by one line. Okay. And on that note, we'll stop because everybody's brain is fried. And so we need to say somewhere. And then because the lookup is working. What would happen if I did this? I'm just curious. Nice. Okay. All right. So Y does have just the IP address. X has the IP address and the count. So what if I put X right there? Drama. Houston, we have ignition.
We did it. Yay.
It only took us what, all night to write a one-page shell script. But this is the kind of thing that you do day in and day out as a sysadmin. And this is why there's tools like IPython and other scripting tools that make this so much easier. But you just look at the initialization sequence when you boot a Linux kernel. It's all bash anyway. So if you want to learn how Linux works, look at the shell scripts. Okay. How many spaces after a line continuation character? None. Trick question. Nothing goes after the line continuation. Okay. All right, that's good.
That was fun.
It was a little more involved than I anticipated, but the results turned out pretty well. Crazy. We're good. You're dismissed. Have some fun. It's like we had some fun tonight. This was good. This is not in test out, I don't think. They might have some scripting.
It was like my programming class. It was like doing Python and C++ again.
Yeah, it's like, well, it is programming
Yeah,
and it's the
yeah.
same. Mhm.
The petition form
But-
sent to, use the science and math. And it said it was sent to the computer science division, but I never got a response.
Oh,
And
I just
then-
got an email about this
Yeah.
today. It just came in.
Okay.
So I was in class at 4 o'clock today,
Mhm.
or, yeah.
So
So,
I
yeah,
saw
I'll
your
look at
name,
it.
so I was wondering if you could look at it.
Yeah,
and See if
I'll
I have
take
all
a
the
look at it
necessary
there.
information.
And yours. Okay, so you're going to get 272. I don't teach 272, so I can't be the one.
So does it have to be like the specific teacher that allows it?
Chris Vaughn is the guy.
Mm,
But 273 is assembler.
Uh-huh.
That's this book. Can you tell me what this code does? This is assembler.
Okay.
Yeah,
So do we learn this in the class or are we supposed to know this? Okay,
yeah, this is 273.
okay,
This is what I'm teaching.
okay.
And I can say an AP class does not teach assembler.
Yeah, no.
That I can tell you.
Okay,
You know, the AP, yeah, you learn objects and you learn programming, you learn 271, and you might know, like, can you write a binary sort algorithm?
not yet.
Yeah, and see, that's the cover, what you cover in 272. So I can safely say that the AP computer science is 270 and 271.
Okay, yes.
I can safely say that.
Mhm.
272, yeah, you better talk to Chris. 273, I don't think so.
Okay, so you would recommend taking 272 and then 273 the semester?
Well, I would talk to Chris. You may have the chops, I don't know. Because he's approachable if you can find him. Yeah, because then what I'll do is I'll send him an email about this, and you're doing the right thing. You want to say, hey, I think I know this. But you really don't know what you don't know. And the clue is when you move into another institution, it's called the course outline of record.
Okay,
That's the big old long thing that we as faculty have to write that transfers to the four-year institution.
okay.
So let's say, for example, you took the Linux class here
Mhm.
and then you move to Stan State and they said, that's not a good Linux class. You take our course outliner record and you take their course outliner record. You line them up,
Mhm.
you show where they're the same. You take it to the counselor and say, prove to me why this is not the same.
Okay.
And then they say, oh, you did my job for me. Thank you. And they'll give you the units.
Okay,
But you usually have to do the homework. So, but I understand where you're coming from.
So for this one, so in order to get the petition for 272, I would have to talk to the teacher?
I
or
would
do-
talk to Chris Vaughn.
Okay,
I'll send him an email saying, hey, we discussed this and not 273.
not 270, but 272.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
This 273
Because
is,
it said on like the Pirates Net that 273, like the only prereq was like 271. And then I took AP Java at my high school currently in sophomore year. And then so then it correlated, but then it just said this. And it didn't
right.
say. So I wasn't really sure.
Java, AP Java is going to be our 271.
So I
So
can get the credit for
You
it.
don't have to take that.
Yeah.
But 272 is our next version.
Yeah.
That's where you do data structures and you learn what a sorting algorithm is and how to do that sort of thing.
So you were recommending 272 and then 273.
Yeah,
after-
273, I definitely recommend taking.
Mhm.
Especially if you're grokking this and you're getting it,
Mhm.
you're gonna do fine in assembler.
Okay.
Because the assembler class as a programming class it's more about learning how, here's this library, here's this header file, here's this assembler file. How do we put them all together and make them work?
Okay.
It's a lot of Lego type of thing.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
You bet. And thanks for asking, by the way.
Yeah, of course.